Imagine for a second that physical distribution instantly halted. If every cargo ship, delivery van, and freight train stopped moving, the goods we rely on would rapidly disappear. Groceries, medicine, and fuel would vanish from shelves, and modern society would collapse within days. To understand the system that prevents this collapse, we have to look to the military. Historically, logistics was a strict science of warfare, focused entirely on planning the exact movement, supply, and maintenance of armed forces across hostile terrain. Over time, that military science evolved into a massive corporate framework. Today, logistics manages the flow of raw materials, services, and capital from their exact point of origin all the way into the consumer's hands. It operates on a highly specific operational standard, acquiring the right thing, placing it at the right place, timing it for the right moment. Most people click buy and assume the system will just work. But our daily survival relies entirely on this vast, highly calculated machine running without a single interruption. The supply chain actually begins in the dirt, accumulating raw materials. The professionals directing this process, logisticians, map out how to drag those unrefined resources across the globe. These planners must execute incredibly high-stakes choices. They have to select transport vendors with precise capabilities and continuously calculate the most effective routes to move heavy freight over long distances. A single bad decision creates an immediate ripple effect. Careless carrier selection or poor route mapping leads directly to delayed deliveries, shattered goods, and rapidly compounding expenses. To shield themselves from these risks, roughly 40% of global organizations now use third-party logistics, or 3PL. By outsourcing to specialized providers, companies keep their overhead low and ensure freight arrives intact. Eventually, those physical shipments hit a modern warehouse. But managing millions of incoming boxes manually is impossible. To survive the volume, physical functions must be converted into digital signals. This flowchart tracks exactly how that transition works. Tracking software monitors individual vehicles and pallets. The heavy physical freight is converted into digital data, feeding directly into a single, unified digital strategy. Without this real-time digital visibility, moving freight at modern speeds would result in total chaos. The software is the only way companies can optimize the flow of goods, reduce wait times, and actually manage their transport costs. But physical speed and software optimization eventually hit an international border. Here, logisticians run into the most rigid barrier to global trade, transport law. These legal jurisdictions serve two functions. They create a fair playing field for competing companies, while actively managing the immense liability and insurance risks of moving dangerous or valuable cargo globally. Massive international treaties negotiated at the United Nations, like the Hague-Visby or Rotterdam rules, dictate who is legally responsible when a container ship loses cargo at sea. Closer to home, strict state laws take over. Customs Acts and Carriage of Goods Acts force companies to follow rigorous protocols before a single piece of material is allowed to cross a national boundary. This traps logistics players in a constant tug-of-war. They are constantly pushing to optimize their speed for a competitive edge, while actively tightening their operations to comply with increasingly complex regulatory structures. Even the fastest, digitally integrated supply chain falls apart if a customs agent seizes the cargo. Global movement relies entirely on strict adherence to the transportation laws governing it. When a single delivery box lands on a porch, a heavily planned journey concludes. Multiply that by millions of similar journeys happening simultaneously, every second of the day, across the entire planet. This continuous, massive movement of goods forms a massive component of the gross domestic product for industrialized nations. It directly affects inflation rates, energy costs, and serves as the primary accelerator for economic development. Look at the valuation of the third-party logistics industry on this chart. The global market now sits at an astounding $750 billion, with European operations holding a $174 billion footprint alone. If we drill down into a specific nation, the UK alone relies on the logistics sector for a full 5% of its entire GDP, employing 1.7 million people to keep distribution prompt and efficient. Recognizing this massive economic impact, the World Bank actively measures national efficiency using the Logistics Performance Index, or LPI. This index diagnoses exactly how well a country handles trade logistics. The economic penalty for poor infrastructure is steep. If a nation's logistics networks are slow, their overall costs rise. Countries with high logistics costs simply miss the opportunity to compete in a globalized market. Every consumer transaction activates an immense network of steel, digital mapping, and international law. Without it, economies flatline. Logistics is the true artery of global commerce.